Welcome to Truth and Company Podcast. I'm your host, John the Truth Dioria, and today's guest is a professional wrestler known to some of you as Duluth Hometown Boy. That's not actually his nickname, but he is originally from Duluth, Minnesota here. He's been wrestling since 2017. He has wrestled for a variety of promotions such as DPW, MAW, Below Zero, AWF, APW, SPW, New Sound Wrestling, All Out Wrestling, Flagship Wrestling, just to name a few. He's basically wrestled for all the alphabet, pretty much. He's wrestled all over the Midwest and is so dedicated to this sport that he even lived out of his van in a Walmart parking lot for 3 months and sometimes had to clean himself with baby wipes because no showers were available. So let me bring on professional wrestler Arlen.
Thank you.
How's it going, man?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So let's get to the very beginning of how this all started. I know a lot of wrestlers start from the same beginning. So did it all start? You just used to watch wrestling on TV and then try the moves in the backyard with the neighborhood kids, or what?
Yeah. I mean, I have three brothers and a cousin who was like really close in age to me. So I started watching wrestling when I was a baby, I guess, and then my dad got real busy with work, army. He was working at the prison for a while, and then so my dad stopped watching it, so I stopped watching it, and then I was like 12, and I started watching it again, playing the video games, and yeah, just started wrestling with my cousin, my brothers, whichever neighborhood kids there were. Moved around a lot, so there were a lot of different neighborhood kids to wrestle.
So did you guys just like wrestle on the grass in the backyard, or did you make up a makeshift ring, or what did you do?
Me and my cousin used to wrestle up in the loft at our grandparents' house, and there wasn't a railing on it, so like we'd be monkey flipping each other and shit, just like coming really close to that ledge and almost falling down on the concrete floor below. But usually it was just out in the grass, look for a soft spot of dirt, something. There was when I was living in Germany in like 2008. I I was living next to this kid named Skyler, and there was a basketball court, and we would wrestle on the basketball court, no pads or anything, and like he'd pick me up for moves, and I'd slip out of him, and he'd be like, "Nah, dude, it's my finisher. You can't reverse my finisher." And I'd be like, "All right, whatever." I remember one time he picked me up and hit me with John Cena's attitude adjustment. It was called the FU at the time. I just landed tailbone first on that basketball court, and I was limping home. That was rough, but we carry on.
Okay, so now you just mentioned you lived in Germany in 2008. What was the reason? Why were you over in Germany?
Both my parents were military for years, so I was actually born in Texas, and I've lived in Germany three times in my life for a total of 6 years. I've also lived in Washington, California. I graduated high school in upstate New York. Um, but Duluth is where my dad's family's from, and that's where I spent the majority of my childhood. So that's why I count Duluth as my home.
Okay, so that makes sense. I was just about to ask you that. Then why are you known as Duluth's hometown boy when it sounds like you were a military brat and you basically traveled all over and you weren't even born here?
Yeah, I wasn't born here, but this is my home.
Okay, so that must have been quite the experience living in Germany for a little while.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, I was going to school with other American kids, so you don't you don't feel like there's that sense of disconnection. Uh, Everybody there is going through the same thing as you are because all their parents are also in the army, and they also get ripped away from their friends every 2 to 3 years when their parents have to move. So
So
it's
now
like
you mentioned some other states, but have you lived in other countries as well?
just the U.S. and Germany.
Okay. So how did you go from the actual just wrestling fan, like a lot of kids do, wrestling in the backyard, watching wrestling all the time, to flipping that switch and decide, you know what, this is something I actually want to pursue and try to make a living out of this. So how does that journey begin?
Well, you're asking when I first decided I wanted to be a pro wrestler, or when I first started making moves for it?
Well, any of it. I mean, because how do you? A lot of people, they stay wrestling fans. They do it in the backyard, but they never go. You know what? I think I'm gonna really try to
Okay.
do this with my life. So yeah, just for anybody that's listening or kind of figures that wants to understand the journey behind it. What was your journey? What contacts did you make, or where did you go to even I mean, because like you said, you were living in Duluth, Minnesota. There's no training facility here. There's
Right.
nowhere to go here. So I mean, who do you reach out to? Who do you talk to? And then how did the journey begin for you to find somewhere to even train?
So I guess if you go back to 2013 when I graduated high school and moved back here, uh, I started doing a lot of volunteer work at the Valley Youth Center in West Duluth, and there was another volunteer there by the name of Chad Sturm or Sturm, I think. Um, he recently passed, but his cousin is David Savick, Heavy D. He was the promoter of Heavy on Wrestling, and he knew that I was a wrestling fan. So, like, he would get me and my cousin Austin into being ring crew for the events there. And then I think it was that first ring crew gig that I did where I met Eric Nordrum, the owner of Discover Pro Wrestling. And I was doing ring crew for several events. I would do like run the gear, sit out at ringside security, was doing all sorts of stuff like that. And then Eric was like, "Hey, will you help me with some production stuff here?" And I started helping him with like camera work and camera switching work and just certain little production things. And then like in the back of my head, I always knew I just still want to be a wrestler though. And then I met Eugene. He came up to Superior for a show over at the Westman Arena.
Now explain who Eugene is.
So Eugene, Nick Dinsmore, is a legend. He wrestled in the WWE on the main roster television from 2004 to 2007, 6 or 7. Um, and in that time, he had the most viewed segments. He had matches with Triple H and Kurt Angle. Uh, he was doing segments with The Rock and Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan, everybody you can think of back then. And his character was that of a special needs wrestling savant. It's like not the most socially adept character, but when it came to between the bells, Eugene could always go. And Nick Dinsmore himself, he was a great trainer. He trained me from the ground up. I thought he was great. He's trained a lot of other people that you might have heard of, like Braun Strowman, Batista was heavily influenced by him. Mark Henry's given him a lot of credit. Jonathan Coachman has said that Eugene's like the coolest person he's ever met in wrestling or something like that. I don't know. But like Eugene's a homie.
So you met him, and then you started talking with him, and that's how you started training. Was with him then?
Yeah, I took his card in early 2016. He had a business card. He had just started at school, and then I told him, "All right, yeah, I'm gonna save up for about a year, and then I'm gonna move down to Sioux Falls and I'll train with you. And like, I know I didn't sign a contract or anything, but that verbal commitment that I made to him meant a lot to me. So early 2016, the academy opens up in uh, St. Paul, much closer drive. But and I'm like, well, should I go there or should I go to uh, Midwest All Pro? And I already told Eugene I would. I already told my dad I would. I already told my cousins I would. I already told my brothers I would. So I got to go to South Dakota. So I bought a van. Um, I saved up like $1,200, I think it was. I didn't have a lot of money, but hell or high water, I was making it down there. I went down to Sioux Falls. I gave him $1,000 for tuition. I spent 3 months in a van. Some nights I would crash at friends' houses. I would stay at my buddy Ollie's house. He's also recently passed. I would stay at man, I stayed at a lot of people. Slept on a lot of couches. I would shower at the gym when I could, but if not, yeah, baby wipes were the way because I was doing a lot of physical activity. I had to get a job because I ran out of money after about a month.
But I mean, you were so dedicated to this dream. Like I mentioned in the intro, that you actually slept in your van off and on for 3 months, just sleeping in there, eating when you could, eating whatever meals you could come up with. And like you said, showering when you could. And if you couldn't, you use body or baby wipes to wipe off. But now
Yeah.
also, when you got up there, you didn't realize, at least what I understood is you didn't realize that you weren't showing up to this bigger wrestling academy. You were actually going to be wrestling in the guy's garage with a ring in it, correct?
So that didn't come till later. I showed up and it was a little warehouse. It wasn't like there was running water, there was a bathroom, there was lights, there were high ceilings. We could have events there. Um, and then at some point, about year and a half into me training there, we lost the lease there, and we moved into a temporary training facility that happened to be a garage that was for rent on Craigslist without running water or a bathroom or electricity. And when it got time to train in the winter there in that garage, it got rough. So we'd have a bullet heater, the little diesel powered one, and we'd turn that on with the garage door cracked at the start of training. And when that thing ran out about hour, maybe an hour, 20 minutes later, depending on how much you put in, that's when training was over because we couldn't do it anymore.
Now,
Training by flashlight, the rafters are at my head level.
now, is it true? I heard in another podcast, I thought that you mentioned, or the guy that running the podcast mentioned, you guys actually were training in like winter jackets as well, right?
So yeah, I mean, I would usually wear like a long sleeve shirt and then a sweater on top, and then I would show up in my winter jacket. I'd take the winter jacket off and I would start training in the sweater. And usually by the end of training, I would have the sweater off and I'd just be in the long sleeve.
And how many wrestlers were in there at the time that you guys were training with no heat and stuff like that?
There were a lot of nights where it was just me and Jeff. There were a lot of nights where it was just me. There were a lot of nights where it was just Jeff. There were like there were maybe 6 people that showed up fairly consistently for training during that time.
Okay.
But he was also doing morning trainings that I wasn't going to because of my work schedule.
So now, do you still train with him? Is he still your trainer?
No, Eugene recently moved to the UK, I believe. I think he just posted on Facebook last week that he moved to a small village in Wales.
Okay, so where do you train now? What place do you train out of now?
I usually just I don't do a lot of in-ring training these days. I mostly just try to stay as fit as I can and stay as active as I can to not build up any rust.
Now, where exactly where's your residence these days? Where are you living?
I live in Duluth.
Oh, okay. So you are back in Duluth.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So tell me, I heard this story and I want you to elaborate on it a little bit. When you guys were training in the garage, the neighbors called the police thinking you guys were having an underground fight club. Tell me about that a
Apparently, that
little
was
bit.
one of the nights where I wasn't there, but what I heard was, there's a lot of banging and grunting coming from that tiny dark garage. And one of the neighbors, it's like Thanksgiving weekend, I believe. So I was up here. One of the neighbors or neighbor's guest or someone was like, "That sound, I don't know what's going on in there." So they called the cops and they're like, "You guys got to get out here. There's an underground fight club in the garage across the street." And then cops come out and Eugene's walking out the door like, "Hello, I'm Eugene."
So it all got explained, and then the cops must have thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, by all accounts, I heard it was, not that big a deal. They thought
Okay.
it was funny.
So who were some of your wrestling influences growing up?
Um, I think you'd be hard pressed to find a kid my age who wasn't a big fan of Jeff Hardy back in the day. And then, I mean, my wrestling style doesn't really line up with his all that much, but another big influence would have been Edge and Christian. Um, they're both really good. Daniel Bryan I thought was always great, and so was CM Punk and AJ Styles. Um, I think my favorite all time would be Mr. Perfect, and then just as a person, John Cena's got to be up there too.
Okay. So did you in high school or grade school or anything, did you have any type of wrestling experience or do you have any type of combat fighting experience at all?
Yeah, so I mean I grew up. My dad was military, so he taught me how to fend for myself at a young age. But then sophomore year of high school, I started wrestling, um, or I joined the wrestling team for my school out in Germany, and my grades weren't great, so I got kicked off the team after about a month. But then the next year, uh, we had moved to New York, and I went out for the wrestling team there, and I wrestled there for my junior and senior year. I wasn't very great. I think I had a like final record of 10-20 or something like that. But I was doing good. I was holding my own, getting a lot of tech falls and just getting tech falled a lot rather. And then after I graduated high school, moved back here. Me and my cousin, the same cousin that I would do the backyard wrestling with, we're playing like a UFC game. And he's like, "I really want to learn how to fight like that." And we're walking down the street one day, and we walk by and just see an MMA gym. And then we're like, "Oh, what the hell?" And we walk in, and we met Tom Green at United Martial Arts, and then we started training with him for like 2 years, and then I broke my arm in a completely unrelated incident, and kind of stopped training for a little bit. And then about a year later is when I went and saw, or when I, a year or two after that is when I went and began my training.
Okay. So you didn't finish pursuing that at all, but you did about 2 years of martial arts training?
Yeah, I have an orange and black belt in Taekwondo. Um, I I always thought, well, it'd be cool to have an MMA fight, but like that, I don't know that I would be bad at it, but I know I don't like getting punched in the face. So
For a guy that doesn't like getting punched in the face, I've seen you in the wrestling ring. You leave that ring with scrapes and bruises all over your body. You might not get hit in the face, but you seem to get hit everywhere else.
Yeah, here down is fine.
Yeah, because you jump off the top ropes, you're doing flips, you're getting hit with chairs, all kinds
Not
of
doing
stuff.
a lot of flips.
Huh?
I'm not doing a lot of flips. I don't think my spine bends that way.
No, you know what I mean. You're jumping like off top ropes. You're high flying guys. Some guys don't even get up on the ropes and jump off. I mean, you're jumping in the air, kicking people. You're getting flipped out of the ring. You're getting hit with chairs. I mean, so for a guy that doesn't like to be hit in the face, you seem to be willing to get hit everywhere else, though.
Yeah, I mean, got to keep the moneymaker good, right? This is where the money is. Everywhere else is just.
I give you credit though, because and don't take this the wrong way. Anyway, I'm actually trying to give you a compliment. You're actually, compared to a lot of other wrestlers in the ring, you're a smaller guy. You weigh a lot less. You're not physically like real muscular, and you seem to be able to give it as good as you get.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. I've been trying to put on like bulk for years, and it hasn't been working out for me. I'm tall. I'm like 6'1", which is taller than a lot of people on the independents, which may be surprising to a lot of people. So I'm tall and I'm long, so I use that to my advantage. I can do the further away chops. I can do longer kicks. I can, wrap someone up for a perfect plex, or grab these different submissions that people with shorter limbs might not be able to.
But I mean, you take some hits from some of these bigger guys, man, and I don't care what people say. People can claim that wrestling is fake all they want. I've sat ringside taking photos of some of you guys, man, and I see some of those shots. And let me tell you, for anybody that's out there listening and claims that this stuff is fake, that stuff lands sometimes, man. And you guys walk away with bruises, and so I don't know what part of it people claim is fake, because I don't know how you guys get all these bruises, and some guys are bleeding, and I've seen, and literally I actually got kicked last.
Yeah, you got a table kicked or a chair kicked into you, right?
Yeah, and I got hit with a chair in the stomach, and I'm a photographer. So don't sit here and try to tell me that shit is fake, because I'm the photographer and I've been hit twice.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's
so no, I mean, I just find it interesting that the first time I saw you, I thought, wow, this guy is like kind of small compared to everybody else. And then you shocked me with the way you wrestle and you fight bigger guys and you handle it. And I think it's really cool, man, because honestly, I think it motivates other people that are your size or smaller to go, you know what? Hey, this guy's getting it done. And not only is he getting it done, but he's doing it at a high rate. And I think you influence other people to get involved, man, that just don't have the normal, natural, size, looking like a stereotypical wrestler. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thank you.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And that's why I said I meant all this as a compliment. I really do, because and it shows that you don't have to always be bulky and big just to be up in there and be a wrestler. If you're athletic and you use your smarts and you use your size to your advantage, and like you said, your height and your length and things like that, and it works for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think you don't have to look like a giant to make it in wrestling. You just have to A, look athletic, or B, be athletic. If you look athletic, you can be less athletic. If you are athletic, you can look less athletic.
So now I know that, so I don't know this whole story, and I want you to elaborate on it a little bit. I know you met Cody Rhodes. Did you actually get a chance to work with him? Because I know he gave you some advice though, right?
Right, yeah. He came out to a Heavy on Wrestling show in South St. Paul back November of 2016. And I was just operating a camera at that show. shot interview with him, shot an interview with Colt Cabana, and then shot the show. After the show, or it might have been during intermission, I bumped into him and I was like, "Hey, man, I'm gonna be going and starting training in like 9 months. I'm just wondering if you have any good advice." And he told me, like, he couldn't really come up with good advice, but he said that uh, the very beginning of your wrestling career, when you don't know anything, you're not making any money, and you're just driving around with your friends from show to show, that's the most fun you're ever gonna have. And he was right. I've had the best times of my life, just broke as shit hanging out with the boys.
Okay. So now, since you've been in wrestling, have you had a chance to work or meet any other celebrity wrestlers?
Yeah, my 15th match was a 6-man tag where Hacksaw Jim Duggan was on the other side. I've also wrestled Sim Bodhi, who used to be Kazarni in WWE. I wrestled JTG. I had a battle royal with the Boogeyman and a Royal Rumble with Hornswoggle. I wrestled Eugene, obviously. I've done a lot of seminars with more famous wrestlers. I did a seminar. I've done seminars with Ethan Page, Arn Anderson, Booker T, Simbodi, a lot of different people.
Okay. So now, obviously on the screen, I see that your nickname is Ace of the Underground, but you've had other nicknames. What are some of the other nicknames you've had?
Well, I mean, I started off as Darlin Arlen, but that was more of a name than a nickname. I was the Sunset Chaser for a little bit. I was the bad bitch down in Omaha for a hot minute. The bad bitch, Darlin Arlen. Man, I've had a lot of nicknames.
Well, what about now? I saw that JP called you Master of Puzzles. Was that actually a nickname?
No, that's never actually been a nickname. More, I told him to call me that because it made me laugh.
And then he brought it up about the puzzles and that your girlfriend, or is it your wife now?
No, we're still just dating.
Okay, but it has something to do with you guys actually like doing puzzles.
We do. Yeah, we'll sit down and do jigsaw puzzles together.
Okay, so is that why he came up with that? Is that where that actually came from?
Yeah, I think we were doing a jigsaw puzzle that morning, and I told him to call me the master of puzzles because I put the last piece in or something.
Okay.
I finished the edge or something.
All right, so what is it about being a wrestler and building your relationships with other wrestlers and fans that people just don't understand unless you're actually part of this wrestling scene?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
So what is it about being a wrestler and building your relationships with other wrestlers and fans that exchange with the closeness with you and other wrestlers, like backstage and meeting them and getting and building relationships with them, and then also building the relationships with the fans and all that together that people outside the scene just wouldn't understand? I mean, is it like, does it become like a family? I mean,
Yeah, there's definitely a sense of brotherhood in the back. I mean, I've been in locker rooms where I didn't know anybody. I was uncomfortable, and then you go out and you have your match, and it's a good match, and you go back to the locker room where you didn't know anybody, and everyone's like, "Hey, man, good match." Like, "Hey, thanks, bro." and dude you wrestled is like, hey bro, let's do a shot. And so you do a shot with them, and just the ice breaks and everything comes flooding in, and everybody's buddies. Like at the end of the day, we all have the biggest thing we have in common is we love wrestling.
And
And
that's what I mean. Building a relationship with the fans
yeah,
as well. You know what I mean? Is that have you built a good following and a good relationship with a lot of the fans over the years?
yeah, uh, especially wrestling repeat times in the same venue. Uh, I know we have about 300 different people that will show up to the Clyde Ironworks shows, and I've been going to the Clyde shows for the last 10 years, even before Discover was going there. And I've known a lot of those fans for a long time, but a lot of them have fallen off, and there's a lot of other people that I just met in the last few years that are like newer fans, and they're coming to all the shows. They're driving 2 hours to the cities, or 4 hours to Fargo, or God forbid 6 hours to Sioux Falls to watch me wrestle. It's pretty cool.
Okay. So who would your dream matchup be against, and what kind of match would you want it to be?
I it's hard to say because AJ Styles just retired. But I'd have to say either CM Punk or Edge or Cope.
And what
Adam
kind of
Cole.
match would you want it to be?
I'm I'm a pretty basic. Just give me a singles match, or even a no disqualification match, and then we can do whatever we want.
Okay. So I want to just get off track wrestling for a brief minute. I thought I heard something in a podcast about how you met your girlfriend. This is kind of an
Yeah,
interesting story. Can you tell me this?
yeah. So I had just gotten out of a relationship and moved back to Duluth where I live, and I'm I'm doing work at a junk removal company, and I walk into Quick Trip, a gas station around here, and I see this really cute girl. I was like, oh, cute. Went about my business, go away, do my thing. Like 2 months later, I'm I'm without a job and I need to find work. I happen to know the manager at that Quick Trip from when I used to work there 10 years ago, and I was like, hey, uh, I kind of need a job right now. And she's like, all right, I can get you in here for an interview. So I went and interviewed, got hired at Quick Trip, and it was the same Quick Trip that, excuse me, that my girlfriend was working at. So they had her training me in the kitchen, and it's like I already know all this stuff from like 10 years ago, and like we just hit it off there. We started hanging out, and uh, you know, long story short, 2 years later, here we are living together. We got a kid together. She comes to all my shows. I go to things that she likes to do. It's like I feel like we're a good fit.
Yeah, it's not every day you think you're gonna meet the one that you're gonna hopefully spend the rest of your life with that quick trip.
Hmm. Yeah, my cousin always said you never know when you're gonna meet the love of your life.
So how many different injuries have you had due to wrestling?
Really, the only big injury I've had was a broken arm. Um, I've had little things here and there. I like popped my shoulder about a year ago, but I was fine. A couple weeks later, I've like tweaked my knee, tweaked my neck, tweaked my shoulder, tweaked my hip. But the biggest thing that happened was broke my arm. Uh, same same spot I broke it before I became a wrestler. It's just freak accident thing. My arm broke right where the first time I broke my arm, I had to get a plate put in my arm, and the second time I broke my arm, it was on the screw hole where the plate screwed in. So they wanted to do another surgery and like dissect my arm and put a longer plate in there, and I was like, no thanks.
But now,
So
did you maybe I heard this incorrectly. When you broke your arm in that match, you finished the whole match. You didn't even know your arm was broke until later on, right?
I didn't even know my arm was broken until I was at work the next day.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I went and worked. I worked for about an hour. Like, I finished that match. I went, uh, visited my dad after, uh, went back home, slept through the night. Next morning, drove into work just fine. Got to, or no, I guess I had to get. I don't remember if I drove or not. Either way, either way, I went. I worked for like an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and then
Jeez.
it was my turn to hop on the front end loader. So I tried to climb up the ladder to get up there, and I couldn't raise my arm above my chest without just like severe pain. I was like, yeah, my arm's fucked. So I had to go to urgent care that day. I never worked at that place again because
So how many
I
matches?
couldn't.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, no, I couldn't pay my rent anymore without the arm working. So couldn't live in the cities anymore. So had to get rid of that job.
All right. So how many matches do you think you've had overall in your career? Do you know the exact
Uh,
number?
Yeah, I have a list. I believe it's 234. Let me double check here. Sorry, one moment. $233.
Okay. Wow, that's a
Yeah,
lot.
it's a few. There's been a lot of them where it was a couple matches on the same show,
All
and
right.
yeah, I know most people don't keep a list on their phone of all the matches that they've had, but I always thought it was cool. Chris Jericho did it in his when he was younger. I don't know if he still does, but
So now do
he's
you
talking
you
about that.
keep a list of the opponent, the venue, all that stuff with each one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have as many details as like Chris Jericho said he always wrote down like the amount of money he made from everything too. I didn't do that. I just have like last weekend AWF Route 35 Rumble, 232 versus the system win. 233 four-way lose. That's all I got.
Okay. All right. So, um, what has been one of your best memories in or out of the ring in wrestling?
Man, I got my head shaved once in the ring.
What?
I lost a hair versus hair match one time, and one of the sponsors was he. I think he paid the sponsorship just so he could shave my head because he came out there with the buzzers, and he's like, he made that his profile picture for the longest time, just a picture of him shaving my head.
So
That was a big one. That was
who has been one of your favorite opponents and why?
I love working with the people that I trained with. Um, JP Harlow is a great opponent. Excuse me. Brandon Nitro, probably my favorite person to wrestle. I also really like getting in there with the system. Um, Austin Schmidt, Rich Maxwell, the Megalodon, Austin Schmidt. Uh, there's a lot of people I just love wrestling. Elijah Dixon is great. Uh, Icarus Alexander, he's great. Yeah.
Is there
Uh,
somebody out there that you haven't wrestled yet that you really, really want to have a match with?
yeah, there's actually someone who also trained in South Dakota who I have yet to wrestle. That's Alvin Falcone. And I've been wanting to wrestle him for a while. I haven't wrestled Rampage Santana in a like straight up singles match, and I really want to. Um, I feel like there's enough like friction there with me and Paul Vert, uh, where that'd be something that fans could be into. I I want to wrestle Otis from the WWE. I want to wrestle Otis
Okay.
because I feel like the Superior versus Duluth, like we could sell out the deck with that match.
So now I know this past weekend was Excalibur Con in Duluth, Minnesota, and I know you actually attended. So tell me the experience a little bit about it for people that might not have went, or tell me who you ran into or who you met or things like that.
Yeah, I went to Excalibur Con on Saturday. Um, my girlfriend was doing volunteer work there, so I went when she got off, and we walked around, and I saw all sorts of cool stuff, a lot of pop culture stuff, a lot of anime artists, and like little handmade trinkets and crafts. Uh, got like she got a lot of stuff. She got some wall art. She got like essential oils. I got a Jake the Snake bag. Um, Honky Tonk Man was there. Christy Hemme was there. The Barking Spiders were there. Oxen Clutch, the Barking Spiders were the first two guys I ever talked to that were pro wrestlers. At a show also at the deck about 15 years ago. I saw Eric from Discover. I saw the guys from Friends of the Squared Circle. I saw the guys from 13 Card Subject to Change. I hopped on a podcast with them for probably 20 minutes. Saw Paul Verk. I flipped him off. I also flipped Zach off. They had it coming though. And then had what I eat. We got a bacon cheddar chive muffin from the Lock. They had a little booth there. And they were
So
sponsoring
now,
the event.
are you a guy that like when you see other people that have reached different levels or celebrity status than you? Do you go up and get pictures still? Are you kind of a fanboy still, and do you get pictures and autographs?
Depends on who it is. So if it's if I walk up and oh shit, there's The Rock. Yeah, I'm gonna probably ask The Rock for a picture because who's gonna believe me? But if I walk in and it's like, oh yeah, it's that guy I've met like 3-4 times and we'll probably meet like 3-4 more times. I don't know if I need a picture with him. I'd rather just go talk to people.
And how do you feel when that you're in that position now, and hopefully it'll get even bigger for you, but how does that feel that when people walk up to you as a fan and they want a picture or they want you to sign something?
It feels great. I love giving pictures or taking pictures with fans. I love signing autographs. It makes me feel good about myself. Makes me feel like I'm giving back to little kid me who couldn't go to wrestling shows because we never had him here.
Okay. All right. I want to touch on a different note, and I don't know a lot of information about this. It might not even be true. I don't know. Who knows with the internet nowadays? So, is it true that you have a small acting role in a 7-minute short film called, is it called Grime, that took runner up at the Minnesota Film Festival in Duluth in 2024, and your role was Steven? Is that true?
I was going to play Creepy Steven, but unfortunately that movie never came to fruition.
Okay.
The project lost funding, so that just never ended up happening.
So there just ended up being a trailer, but the movie never ended up getting made?
Right. I never ended up filming any content for it.
Okay.
I was just agreed to do the role.
So
And,
some of the information was true then. You actually were going to, it just never was made.
Yeah, I was going to, it just never came to fruition.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, you ready for these random 20 questions?
Fire 'em at me.
All right. Question one. Tell me about your background and your upbringing a little bit. I know we touched a little bit on it, but tell me some more on it.
Yeah, I mean, I moved around a lot. I went to school like everybody else. I wrestled in high school. I did a lot of like I wasn't in plays or anything, but I did a lot of drama classes in high school as well. I was always really into like performing. Um, I was in choir, I was in video production, I was doing all these things that like let me flex my creative and creative writing class, PE. I had decent grades in all these classes, but you know, couldn't focus on a lot of things because wrestling was always on my mind. So I would get bad grades in like science, math, the important classes that they want you to pass.
But now you mentioned earlier that both your parents were in the military.
Yep.
So were they both in the same service?
Yeah, they were both Army. They actually met in. They were both stationed in Germany before I was born. Uh, my older brother was born. They met there, and then they got together, got married, moved down to, or got PCS down to Texas, and that's when they had me. Lived there for a couple years. Moved here when I was a baby. Um, my dad got out. My mom got out. Money wasn't great, so my dad got back in. Went to California. I had my middle younger brother went uh, back to Germany. Had my youngest brother. 2002 moved back here. My dad gets out again. Just does reserve. Gets a job at Sandstone prison, and then yeah, lived here for like 6 or 7 years. Moved back to Germany in like 2008, and then back here or Germany, and then my parents both got deployed to Iraq at the same time. Um, so we got sent to go live with our family out in Washington, my mom's side of the family, and then it was 6, 8 months later, something like that. My parents came back on leave, uh, packed us up in a car, drove us across the country back to Minnesota, and we ended up staying with our grandparents, my dad's parents, for close to a year.
I didn't know that they could do that with your parents that were both in the service if they had children. I didn't think they both could go at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of letters written to congressmen and whatnot. It was I think it was either WDIO or Fox 21 that did a story on us because 4 boys all going to Renshaw School. Uh, their parents are both deployed.
Hmm, interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, question two: do you have any wrestling superstitions, things that you have to do before a match, like every single time?
No, not really. I've gone out cold. I've gone out without stretching, warming up. Um, I like to try and you know stretch everything out before I go out there. I'll try to say a prayer, but sometimes I'm just too focused to get there. Um, I don't. I don't have a lot of. I guess I'll double knot my boots because I don't want them to fly off. I had that happen one time. So
Wait a
I
minute.
guess
Wait a
that's
minute.
my
You had your
biggest.
boot. Wait a minute. You had your boots fly off in a
It
match.
didn't fly off. I was back in early 2019, I think. I was still single, looping my knots, and I was doing a rope walking thing, and I must have stepped on the lace, and it came untied, and my foot was slipping around in my boot while I'm trying to walk the top rope. It didn't go great. Yeah, ever since then, I've always double knotted my boots.
Okay. All right, question 3. What is something that your wrestling fans don't know about you, even though they've already learned quite a bit in this hour that we've been doing this podcast? Give me something else.
They haven't seen anything yet. There's a lot of stuff that I can do that I just haven't.
Okay. Can you flip?
I can do a front flip.
Okay. All right, question 4. What is a fun or a crazy wrestling fan story that you can tell me?
My buddy Nitro had a stalker one time. He was getting messaged like frequently, all hours of the day and night, and then like she was showing up at every place he would go with like handmade things for him and his family, and it got to the point where she was messaging his family, and that was like 2-3 steps too far. Yeah,
What was the
you
end
got to watch out
result?
for.
What was the end result of that?
She got yelled at and I think moved away.
Oh, so no restraining order, no jail or
No,
anything like that.
no, because like it was all from a place of love. She was just trying to, you know, be a fan, be a friend, maybe, but you can't. As a wrestling fan, you can't like. You got to understand that wrestlers are people too. I have my life, and my girlfriend and my daughter are more important to me than any fan out there. No offense.
Well, no, but have you ever had any type of fan interaction that's been unusual?
Thankfully, not that unusual. Most I do is see little kids looking in a window and tell them to get away. Don't look in there.
Okay. All right. Question 5. What is the worst job you've ever had?
I used to clean out crack houses.
How do you get hired to clean out a crack house? Where do you even apply for that?
No, a guy. No, I used to work for Twin Ports Trailer Trash. We would do unit cleanouts. We would do junk removal. I would drive a dump truck, and we go around and beautify Duluth in and out. But that wasn't the worst job I ever had. The worst job I ever had was at credit card company answering phones.
Oh,
I
yeah,
hated that.
you don't seem like a guy that that you need to be on the phone talking to people about credit cards.
No, I don't know shit about credit cards. There was we had a list there, a go home early list, and if you popped up on the list, you could go home early. One day it popped up for me. I was like, all right, and I didn't like restart my computer or shut it off or anything. I just like I just punched out and left. So I came back the next day and I punch in and I saw the notification still. I ended up quitting that job because they denied my time off, and I wasn't requesting time off. I was just telling them I would be gone.
Okay. All right. Question 6. If you could have dinner with a president, a comedian, and a wrestler, who would it be?
Teddy Roosevelt, Burt Kreischer, and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
That would be an interesting dinner party.
Think of that party.
All right. If you ended up on an episode of Cops, what would the reason be?
Victim of a mugging. I don't know. They got to blur my face.
Wait a minute. You said a victim of a mugging. I meant like that you were doing something that you were going to be getting arrested. You flipped the script.
I'm just saying. I don't think I'm going to get arrested. I don't think I'm getting arrested, John.
Okay. All right. Question 8. If you were on death row, what would your final meal be?
Heap and tall bowl of Fruity Pebbles and no, healthy, like full serving of ribs and like Velveeta shells and cheese. Man, yeah, probably that.
Okay. Question 9. If you had the ability to fly for 24 hours, where would you fly to?
I only have 24 hours. I don't want to go very far because that's a long trip back. I'd probably go to a beach somewhere around the Pacific.
Okay. All right. Question 10. If you got into a street fight with 3 guys, what other 2 wrestlers would you want to have fight with you? Either indie wrestlers or WWE wrestlers?
I mean, like Ken Shamrock and Brock Lesnar are right there, but so is Haku. Yeah, probably Haku and Harley Race.
Okay. All right. Question 11. If you could only eat all of your meals for 30 days from one fast food restaurant, which one are you choosing?
Got to be Arby's.
You like Arby's that much, huh?
I love Arby's.
All right. Question 12. If you could star in a movie with any actor or actress, who would it be?
I like Glenn Powell. I'm going to say Glenn Powell.
Okay. Question 13. Do you collect anything?
I used to collect wrestling trading cards years and years ago, but then one of my younger brothers dumped out my tin full so he could put his Yu-Gi-Oh card deck in there. And I've never recovered all of them since. So then I started collecting wrestling shirts, and I ended up having way too many shirts, so I stopped collecting them.
Okay. Question 14. Do you have any phobias?
Sorry, any what?
Any phobias?
I guess deep water. Not the strongest swimmer. I don't know what's down there.
Okay. That's a fair answer. Question 15. What is something that you are very passionate about besides wrestling?
DC Comics.
Okay, so you're a comic fan.
I am, yeah.
Who's your favorite character?
My favorite, ironically, is Superman. But like, I've been reading so many comics. Absolute Superman is doing so much cool shit right now. The whole Absolute universe is great. I love Peacemaker when it was airing last year. Invincible, not a DC property, but when Invincible was playing on Prime, I love that show. I'm superheroes in comics are like just something I can really dive into and really get into.
So speaking of that, on a separate note, did you ever get into that TV series Heroes?
Yeah, my dad was watching it when I was a kid, so I would watch it when I was a kid.
And the only reason
And I
I'm
saw
bringing
that
that,
Hayden Panettiere just passed last night.
yep, that's too bad. Yeah, I actually watched it for that same reason. I thought she was really good in that show.
Yeah, she was great.
So, question 16, what is the best place you have ever traveled to?
Hmm. I've been so many places. Lake Placid, New York was really cool. Um, that went on a vacation there. I've been to Grand. I just went to the Grand Canyon earlier this year. That was awesome. I went to Mount Rushmore last year. That was sweet. I went. I went somewhere like I wouldn't call this a good place, but one of the coolest, like most interesting architecturally places that I've ever been to was the Eagle's Nest in Germany, which was like Hitler's hideout up in the mountains. And there was this big ass golden elevator, and I just remember walking in there and like it was packed with tourists. A crazy view there.
Wow.
Everything's just crazy there.
All right, question 17. If it's pouring, raining, or a snowstorm outside, what's something you enjoy doing indoors to pass the time?
Turning up the thermostat. I don't like being cold. I play a lot of video games. I watch a lot of TV. Um, I've been getting really into a lot of thriller movies this year. Uh, that series Beef on Netflix. It seems like I cause myself anxiety with the media I consume when it's precipitating outside.
Okay. Question 18. What advice would you have for a new wrestler?
So I got some really bad advice when I first started, and like I had character ideas for myself, and I was told, don't worry about any of that. Learn how to wrestle and then come up with a character. And I'm gonna say, fuck that. If you have an idea, you hold on to that shit. If you know you can do something and other people are like, oh, I don't think you can, fucking show them you can. Just confidence is key. I went 3 years with like my first 3 years, I had no confidence. I didn't have ideas. Like, and now I try to pull in one or two different things that I've never done before every match, and
Okay.
see what sticks, see what doesn't.
All right, question 19. If you owned a racehorse, what would you name it?
A racehorse,
Yeah.
Naruto.
Is there a reason for that?
No, you ever see Naruto run though?
No.
He runs with his arms back.
I don't know who that is.
No, he was an anime character.
Okay, okay, that explains it.
Yeah.
All right, question 20, last question. Who is someone in your life that has inspired you outside of the sport of wrestling?
Um, I'm inspired a lot by uh, well, both my parents, all my grandparents. Man, I think my biggest inspiration is probably my dad in my life.
Okay.
He's been through a lot. When he was training back in 2007 to go to Afghanistan, uh, as part of training, they drove over an IED, and that sent him through the windshield. He broke his neck and his back, and he fucked his knees up, and got forced into medical retirement. And then he busted his ass to get back into fighting shape so that he could reenlist. And like I've always thought that was really admirable of him. I've always really admired my dad's drive and determination, and it's always pushed me to be the best me that I can be.
Awesome. All right. Well, listen, I appreciate you taking time to talk about your life inside the ring and outside the ring and having fun with the random 20 questions. If there's anything you want to say before we end the podcast, go ahead.
August 29th, I got a show, New Sound Wrestling. It'll be about 1 p.m. I think it's downtown by Lucky's on Louise in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Come check us out. It'll be a great time.
All right. Hold on. And with that, the truth has spoken.